right, I think we are just about ready to get started. Okay. Hello, both of you. Are you ready to get things going?
Yes.
All right. Well, let me get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We'll do some introductions in just a second. But before we do, just a couple of housekeeping notes. The webinar is going to be around 45 minutes, maybe a couple minutes shy of that. And it'll be in listen-only mode, so you won't be able to interact directly with us, but there is a Q&A function in the software. So I would encourage you, if you have a question as we're going through things, please enter it in the chat. And what we'll do at the end is if we have a few minutes, we'll try and get to a couple of the questions. And if not, we will follow up with you by email. All right, well, let's get into it. So a couple of quick introductions. I'm Scott Morash. I am the head of client development for the gambling sector here at Ipsos. And for those of you who don't know me quite as well, I've been in the gambling research field for over 20 years. And I currently lead most of Ipsos's activities pertaining to business development, consulting, and thought leadership for the gambling sector. And I have to say, I'm pretty excited today to talk about CX. As many of you know, CX is an important aspect for many service businesses, and it's become really important and quite challenging, I think, in our rapidly changing betting market. Today's presentation is going to be co-hosted by Ipsos's dedicated CX business, which in Canada is home to nearly 40 people who design and execute top-tier CX measurement programs across a multitude of business industries. So joining me from that team today is Miriam, who's worked in customer experience for more than a decade and brings a global perspective from her time working in multiple countries across a diverse range of businesses. Miriam is a leader on our CX team. She leads a team of researchers focusing on several industries like banking, telecommunications, and of course, gaming. She's passionate about CX and service design, and she's a trusted client advisor, speaker, and a leader in our CX syndicated offerings. Welcome, Miriam, to the webinar.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for a great intro and happy to be here.
And next is Simone. Simone has over 20 years in research, including 8 in CX. And she leads most of the CX work that Ipsos does in the gambling and lottery categories, which has been steadily on the rise, actually, in the last few years. Simone's a certified customer experience professional, and she's active in several CX professional communities. Recently, she was recognized by the Women in CX community as one of the awesome women to follow in CX for 2024. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you, Scott. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into things. So a little bit of context and why we're focusing on CX at this point in time. So as we all know, the betting world is changing rapidly. We're seeing a convergence of old meets new, or rather mature markets and mature products meeting and competing with nascent ones. This presents, I would say, a lot of opportunities for organizations, challenges, of course, too, but lots of opportunities to tap into a lot of the forces that are driving customer choice in the category. Because ultimately, as I always say, consumers only have so many discretionary dollars to go around. And of course, the context surrounding this is multiple things. So lots of outside influences that have a role to play in people's gambling and betting choices. When we think just from a generational context, this is basically, you can think of it as new players, new rules. There's vastly different expectations of a gambling or betting experience between a 23-year-old, for the sake of argument, and say a 55-year-old person. If you think purely from even a technology standpoint, this is obvious. But what about from a motivational standpoint? What needs are being met by different gambling verticals, and how is the experience playing into that across generations? With digitization, this is another big aspect. We're at a place now, obviously, in the world where we all have high expectations of companies to offer digital experiences, and not just baseline offers, but we have high expectations on the delivery and the usability of it being pretty good. And we know from many research studies across sectors that digital experiences are what we call liquid, or they're increasingly becoming liquid these days, which means basically that the expectation between one product category carries over into others. So let's just say that you're online, you're shopping for new clothing, you're on a company's website, and the experience on that shopping experience is really, really stellar. That basically becomes the new standard for you as a consumer for your next shopping experience, or maybe your gambling experience when you go to another website. When it comes to innovation, we talk a lot about AI these days. Many industries are harnessing AI to fuel more sophisticated CX touchpoints. If you think purely from the AI chatbots that we've probably all experienced, digital customer service helpers, or even predictive product suggestions while shopping, these technologies, I would say, are really helping to shape the CX landscape. And whether it's fully deployed in gambling yet or not, or maybe there's room for growth there, it's definitely a growing consumer expectation. And then, of course, we get into data security. Of course, this is a critical part of the iGaming and iLottery experience. But when we think about account registration, we talk to our clients a lot about account registration. This is ultimately one of the earliest and most critical aspects of a player journey. And honestly, it's one that we sometimes hear is the biggest hurdle for some firms. And so we know that player acquisition is a key factor for growth in many businesses. And this step alone, honestly, is a major factor at play. And last but certainly not least, when we think about player health in terms of the overall player journey, we're increasingly seeing player health and responsible gambling forming an integrated part of the player journey. And this, again, is where a lot of the CX innovation, AI technologies can really lend a hand. And so I would sum this all up basically to say that we're at a place in the gambling world where things are changing quite quickly. And when we think about how to garner a player's trust and build brands and experiences that people will trust and want to come back to, really it comes down to three big things for us at Ipsos. One is shaping basically an expectation of what a player has for a site. And that's some of the context that I gave you on the previous page. So this is more about what you offer. Then there's the context, and this is all about understanding who you're offering that to and who the player is. And again, some of those trends and context I just discussed. But there's a third thing, which is oftentimes a bigger part of player experience and a bigger part of building a successful brand, which is integrating that sense of empathy into what you're doing. And so this is things like, and especially when you think about from the CX context, these are things like building authenticity, creating and tapping into people's desire for some authentic type of relationship. This is tapping into people's desire for personalization. ESG, when you think about the social good that can come from gaming, the societal benefits, the trust and the corporate social responsibility that comes from doing that, that's a big consideration. And really what these all kind of ladder down, for me anyway, is the sense of emotional connection. And we know from multitudes of research that one of the key pillars to building successful brands and building successful experiences is really tapping into emotional connection with your players and with your customers. And so hopefully with that, and you're going to probably see a little bit more of that emotional kind of touch point as we go through this presentation, but hopefully that sets the stage and provides some decent context. So Miriam, hopefully that's a good turning point for things for you, and I'll turn it over to you.
Great context. And really, like listening to you, it must, and the audience today, you must be feeling like all this change is happening, and it really can be overwhelming for organizations to not only rethink their experiences and how they deliver them, but how to take it to the next level and build emotional connections. So it can be challenging, but we like to think of it as an opportunity really to take the initiative to be leaders in terms of embracing all this change and rethinking player experience within your organization. So I kind of want to take it a bit broader, take it a step back and talk about CX in general. We're seeing that from our Global Voices survey that we conduct with various marketers, insight specialists, CX specialists, we're seeing that there is a growing focus on CX. And this is recognized by many senior leaders and different organizations around the world, but also in North America. It's really about investing more in CX and seeing more focus on CX within boardrooms. And it's not just about CX these days, it's about employee experience as well, and trying to really mirror and bring CX and EX together. And we're predicting that more conversations in the boardroom are going to be about that. So yes, CX is gaining more and more attention. But the challenge is that organizations really don't have the right tools today to deliver on brand promises. We saw from our study that almost 50% of executives admit that their experiences are worse than what was promised initially by the brand. And of course, this is a point of concern that we try to address in a lot of our conversations with our clients. And it appears that only a few organizations have truly managed to link CX outcomes to business performance. And only 8% report that they have sophisticated models to truly understand their CX and link it back to financials or any other growth metric that they measure within their organization. In other words, many don't understand the true value of a CX investment that they put forward and what the impact is ultimately on their business down the line. And so this is important context because while many struggle to measure the impact of customer or player experience, at Ipsos, specifically within our CX world, we live and breathe something that we called ROXI. ROXI stands for Return on Customer Experience Investment. So why ROXI and why is this important? Because ROXI is truly the magic formula that ultimately helps organizations drive that sense of engagement. Focusing on CX means players are more invested, they play longer, they're more likely to rave about your game, and they bring their friends into it as well. It's about fostering a better experience at every touch point, and ultimately it's what fuels growth and that maturity in organizations that allows them to level up that CX game. We can't really talk about customer experience without linking it back to how organizations view CX internally first within their organization. We are talking to more and more companies about their CX readiness internally and what we ultimately call CX maturity. We're seeing more and more organizations that are ready to take that step and move up the customer experience ladder and really try to be more mature and more embracing of CX. Right now, and according to our study, only 12% of organizations in North America are considered to be leading on that CX maturity scale. What does that mean? And what are those 12% really doing right? It's about really tapping all the different pillars that you're seeing on the screen in front of you. So these mature organizations have a strong internal support for CX initiatives. They truly get their customer, their needs and their wants and their expectations. They have the right listening ecosystem. They directly connect CX improvements to tangible business results. So they're not just measuring feedback, they're actually activating it within their organization properly. They also manage to have a really good sense of CX within their organizational culture, and they prioritize it in everything that they do. They're also future focused, and they have a clear plan for ongoing CX development. So these are high level, the pillars that we use to measure organizational readiness in terms of embracing CX and really going up the maturity ladder. Because before organizations can do that on their own, it'll be very hard to kind of reflect that to the end customer. Because from a customer perspective, it's really simple. It's about knowing them, personalizing the experience to them, but also hearing them, taking their feedback and acting upon it. And it's about really, back to what Scott was saying initially, driving that sense of value or that emotional connection, and really cracking the code on that has become a key part of our conversations with a lot of our clients, because it can be done in different ways in different organizations. So from the back end, on the organizational side, a lot needs to be done to really level up the CX maturity. But from a customer perspective, it really goes down to these 3 pillars in front of us here that can be very simple, but very hard to act on. And so how can we deliver better experiences? And this is really what we're trying to answer here today. Scott mentioned some of those principles already, but it's really all about making sure that we measure and take expectations into consideration when designing experiences. It's about understanding the macro context in this evolving world that we're living in, but also knowing those micro details that help us kind of personalize experiences and showcase that we know our customers and they're not just a number to us. And this is sort of where AI can come in and help, and we'll touch upon that later in the presentation. And it's about really making empathy or emotional connection the North Star in every journey and every design experience that we are thinking today. And on that note, I'm going to pass it on to Simone, who's going to get deeper into designing experiences. And she's really, truly the expert on this front. So Simone, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Miriam. So experience is everywhere. And as consumers, we know that. We live a number of experience and micro moments during our daily lives. But what it means for organizations is that interactions and each interactions that you provide are an opportunity to strengthen the connection with players and users, because those moments of interactions, downloading an app or cashing out your wins when you win a small lottery game, those moments can become memories, and emotional memories are strong drivers of brand choice. So, through the experience provided, organizations can create and solidify relationships. And emotional connection is really a functional of the memories we create through the experience delivered over time. However, often building and measuring emotional attachment is an area where our clients struggle the most. With digital transformation, uh, it's easy to focus on the functional benefits, easier, faster, more convenient experience. But if a brand does not connect meaningfully with users or players, it can still fail. And there is therefore it's a worthy goal to focus on emotional attachment and building that. And this is what we actually see on this slide. So what we see here is data from our R&D work that we conducted to validate our emotional measurement approach. And we conduct this R&D work across several industries and sectors and across different countries. And what you see here is that the emotionally attached customers who are on the top row report a huge gap, a much higher gap in terms of behavior metrics than those customers that are just functionally satisfied, shown in gray. Emotionally attached customers will choose you more, will tell more often about your brand to friends and families, and will stay with you longer. So indeed, I think this data, it's really compelling and demonstrate why organizations can benefit when they move from creating experiences that are shallow or transactional to ones that are deeper and relational in nature. So how do we go about doing it, or more of that? I think, as Marian said, we start by bringing empathy to player experience design and delivery. And bringing empathy is really about being aware and considering customer needs and expectations when we think of delivering our products or service. There are many ways companies go about bringing empathy, but at Ipsos, we like to use a human-centric framework that we developed called Forces of Customer Experience, or Forces of CX. Forces of CX is truly people-centric, and it's true to how we view the way people interact. We think that decisions and brand choice always start with people. So it's not really about process or brands, it's about people. And the force of CX, they help us identify what are the key ingredients that we can add to a relationship or to the experience to create more meaningful connections. So we've used this framework across different types of research, both qualitative, such as service design, Jordan Map, and quantitative, such as transactional tracking or relationship studies. And the force of CX was developed by Ipsos in collaboration with our own behavior science team. It identifies 6 key dimensions that you see on the screen, and that have been validated through R&D to be strong predictors of emotional attachment and relationship strength. So what it means is that when we leverage the forces to intentionally design experience that focus on achieving those forces, we have a better chance to strengthen our emotional connections with players or users. And those 6 dimensions, we measure them through a standard wording, so we'll show in the next slide, but we weight and validate always based on the category we work on. While all forces are important, some of them are more hygiene factors, while others are relationship builders and differentiators. They really create that meaningful, strong bond with customers. And in fact, I would say that 2 of the differentiator forces, which is enjoyment and belonging, have an important role to play in lottery and gaming. Enjoyment, which is all about providing a sense of freedom, make life easier, removing hassles, enabling customers to focus on themselves, so enjoying. This is always present in the entertainment industry as an important element or ingredient to build relationships. And belonging is also an important force that can be leveraged in lottery and gaming industry. Belonging is essentially about helping customers feel that they connect with the brand values, that the brand is delivering in the greater good, that there is a sense of togetherness, of connection. And we have seen recently an increase in the importance in belonging. And that's partially driven by the growth and importance of ESG initiatives and experience, and also by changing customer needs that are really more focused on looking for brands that are authentic and with purpose. So what are really the steps that we can start applying to our work to putting empathy at the heart of what we do? So first, we say start by analyzing the data that you have already in-house. Voice of customer data, operational, social media feedback, they all help us to identify which experience need improvement. So where are players suffering the most, where the journey is flat and could use some emotional pick or some added value elements. So we start by those moments, and then use a collaborative approach to customer understand, breaking silos, work cross-functionally. If we really wanted to share and activate customer understanding insights and learnings, we do need to break silos. And actually, to achieve that, often we need to be selecting the right tool, leveraging the right tool for breaking silos, or even to build empathy. And one of the best tools that we can recommend is customer journey map. In past years, I guess in the past couple of years, we have worked with several clients in the lottery and gaming industry, helping them building their own customer journey maps. And I will show you some illustrative examples next. So the customer journey maps, they can take many forms. They can be specific to a moment in the customer lifetime. They can be broader and more end-to-end journeys, such as the one that we're showing here. So this is a map that gives us the end-to-end visual experience of the several stages a player go through when playing lottery jackpot game. And in this map, we incorporated the force of CX. You can see on the second row, and you can see that there are different icons. They vary across each stage of the journey. And what that reveals is that in each moment, we can leverage or dial up different forces or different ingredients when improving the experience from the point of view of building stronger relationships. So let me give you an example. If we can focus on, for example, stage number 6, which is when, after they became aware, purchased, played, checked out, outcome, the final moment of that journey is to re-engaging or engaging again with the lottery. And we can see in this stage, two of the most important forces showing up are status, which is about feeling valued, and personalization. Scott mentioned personalization is growing in importance. And belonging is about connecting with the brand values, as I said in the previous slides. So how can we, thinking of those two forces, how can we leverage experience that will build deeper relationships? Well, status, for example, can play a role in strengthening the relationship by injecting, for example, personalized promotions or relevant offers through an app, and that motivates players to connect again with the lottery. Or belonging, which is really key to actually answer a key pain point in this stage of the journey. And players don't want to feel that they are wasting money playing again the lottery. But by activating belonging, we can address this pain point because we can focus on communication or interactions that are truly reinforced and making customers leave experience that let them feel that, yeah, what lottery proceeds are actually coming back to the community, the projects or social programs or educational programs that help us really establish a deeper emotional connection with the lottery. So now let's look at a different journey. In the second example, we have an onboarding journey of an online gaming app. And we created this journey map to resolve a more tactical problem, which was around abandonment during the sign up process. So the journey starts when users download the app and ends when they successfully play their first game. And you can see here the emotional journey arc with those little faces. And we see that signing up is the lowest moment in the journey arc. And customers and users are frustrated when they get to signing up. And what we saw as a main pain point was that users had to provide a lot of personal data and information as they're waiting for the process of signing up, which in addition to make the whole experience really feeling long, it create a feeling of uncertainty as to why they had to provide so much personal data. So in this case, the main force of CX playing in this stage are certainty, which is all about making customers feel that things are clear and working as expected, and fair treatment, which is about making customers feel that there is a fair exchange in the relationship with the brand. So the opportunities to improve when we think of those forces and keeping them in mind are perhaps trimming down the number of screens, reduce the mental load, makes it easier and for customers and users to feel reassured and clear about the progress of the sign up process. And also a second element could be to communicate, for example, your data security policies, how the data is being stored, what is used, and that could improve feelings of reliability, fairness, and ultimately building trusting relationships with users. So now I'll pass it back to Miriam.
Thank you, Simone. Wow, great journey examples. And I think there's lots to learn in there. And it's so exciting to see like CX forces be part of each stage and how they really differ. We're seeing incredible examples of brands crafting truly engaging customer journeys. And really, there's a huge opportunity to leverage the power of AI to take these journeys to the next level. Gen AI in particular has the potential to revolutionize how we design and deliver customer experiences. As many of you have already heard on multiple webinars, podcasts, it's kind of hard to navigate now without hearing something about AI. So we're already seeing organizations rethink their traditional customer journey maps as they integrate more AI and weave more automation and process and personalization, into their various interactions. So this is creating new possibilities that were not available to us before. And so from a CX perspective, the way we see it and how we kind of can see AI kind of integrating into the CX world, it's really in two buckets. The first one is really about optimizing our listening posts and how we generate insights. And the second is about injecting AI for better operational efficiencies, hassle-free experiences, moving across channels, empowering employees differently. And again, back to the topic of personalization, because this is like super important in terms of really leveraging AI to do that. And so more efficient and actionable CX insights, as I mentioned, there's a lot that we can do here. So on the listening and insight front, Gen AI is really revolutionizing traditional customer feedback surveys. Surveys can become much shorter and more conversational and less rigid and more personalized to the customer. So we could be imagining a future where the surveys look different from one respondent to the next based on the experience that they have had. Next is about amplifying the value of the feedback that we're getting. So as you all know, and sitting in your organizations, you have a ton of structured and unstructured data. We have CRMs, we have operational data, we have financial metrics, and AI can really help bring all of that into one spot. It's also really about getting that right context and bringing it into all of this insights that we've collected together. So really summarizing, contextualizing, and providing insights more effectively across the organization. And it's also a great tool for probing and ideating and coming up with new solutions, new journeys, and testing different scenarios, especially if you use AI to kind of emulate the different profiles of players that you have. You can do so much by recreating the experiences and testing them out before you roll them out into your actual player experiences. On the delivery side, Gen AI really orchestrated well alongside human-delivered experiences. So there's a lot of potential to really cut down on costs and change the way that we're delivering experiences. So by analyzing extensive sets of data. GenAI can really tailor experiences to individual needs and preferences. It can help scale the delivery, empower employees with the right tools to answer more effectively on the spot, take over some small human tasks right now to allow frontliners to focus on more challenging and critical points. And really all of that is to help create higher sense of customer lifetime value across the different organizations. But truly, to fully unlock the potential of AI, companies need to lead with customer experience. It's not enough to simply integrate AI. We need to be intentional about how it enhances CX within our organizations. This means putting the customer at the front and center and not as an afterthought. Intentional CX needs to be consistent across all channels, delivering personalized experiences driven by a deep understanding of customer needs. It's about being proactive and always looking for ways to engage and to improve. We need to harness the power of combined human intelligence and artificial intelligence together, really hand in hand. That's kind of the message that we're relaying to all of our organizations. So while AI can replace some human tasks, it's truly when both the human and the AI work together that we can arrive at this intentional improved CX that we can deliver to all of our players or customers, different contexts, of course. So how do we really do this at Ipsos CX? Here's a quick guide on how to action different elements that we spoke about today for a successful CX measurement approach. And I'm showing everything together at once because organizations can have different projects or activities happening at different points. But we really work with our clients to really first help them engage their organization and break silos through, for example, our maturity assessment or our journey work that we sort of touched upon today in this webinar. But in terms of listening and how we collect data, we also help organizations optimize their listening posts, whether through engaging in transactional, real-time work, which is something that we partner with organizations like Qualtrics and Medallia and others to do, or by simply helping organization by advising them on what are the right metrics that you need to integrate into your brand health tracking or your CX relationship tracking that can really help you keep your hand on the pulse. It's also about how we activate those insights and what we do with them and how we bring those different insights to life through various driver analysis, through various ways of kind of linking CX performance to financial metrics, which, as we mentioned earlier, not a lot of organizations are doing successfully on their own. And of course, we go full circle to talk to our clients about how they can successfully embed everything that they've gathered and they've activated in terms of those insights and bringing it back to the organization. So looking again at their frontline, mirroring that EX experience with the right CX understanding, and constantly rethinking their service design approach. And so these are just different ways that we help organizations. And in an ideal situation, organizations should have initiatives under each one of those pillars, whether they're phased or running in parallel. That depends on your organization. But if anything sticks out here, feel free to reach out to us to kind of have a more deeper conversation about not just these tools, but everything that we've shared today, from like the overall changing landscape to the importance of CX and CX maturity, and to the very important topic of driving that value and building empathy and emotional connection, because we realize this is super important across various organizations and in different sectors, but specifically within lottery and gaming, having that sense of emotional connection is truly the way to differentiate and continue to engage and really build that ongoing player base that hopefully continues to grow. And so with that, I think we have arrived at the end of our webinar, and we are open to taking some of your questions in the chat here. I don't have access to that, so maybe Scott, you do?
I do, yes. So let me just first say, both of you, thank you so much for running us through this content. I personally always learn new things every time I get to talk with one of our specialist teams, and has been great. I have been keeping my eye on the chat,
Okay,
and I
good.
do have a couple of questions here that have popped up. So let's do one and see how much time we have after that. So this is from a lottery that they say that they only really sell inside retail establishments, which we know that many lotteries do that. So how can we incorporate some of the CX thinking and metrics in what we do in our research program? And they didn't specify, but maybe you guys could just tackle, one of you could tackle that, give some ideas.
Sure. Mariam,
Simone,
maybe I can. Yeah,
yeah,
I
go
can
for
take
it.
those one. It's an interesting question, and actually one that we've heard from other clients from other industries. So, for example, insurance, where brokers are still delivering many of the products and service. But I would say that in case where a partner is delivering the experience, is even more crucial to measure how is it going, because you wanted to ensure, first of all, that quality is consistent, and then you also want to protect your brand reputation. So you can start small. If you have tracking programs in place, brand or CSAT tracking, adding something as simple and economical such as CX Forces, which is delivering a lot of good insights about how to deepen that relationship or how that relationship is going is interesting. You could incorporate other CX metrics, CSAT, customer effort score, or you could even go fancier, right? And really go deeper into understand player experience, and then methods such as journey mapping or even mystery shopping can be employed. Mystery shopping usually involves someone going and pretending they are customers, and they evaluate service quality. It's great for identifying issues and compliance opportunities for training of retailers. But I would say additionally, do not forget that your relationship of your organization with retailers is also CX. It's actually B2B CX. We recently had a webinar in this topic because it's actually a growing area of CX. And evaluate the relationship with retailers can uncover opportunities for more training, for more marketing support, but really to moving your relationship from transactional to more relational and deeper with these own retailers and engaging them more. So I would say it's a combination of ways. You can start simple through adding some CX metrics on your B2C studies, but also think B2B CX.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for that. And I've got one more, and I think we have another couple minutes. So let's do one more. This one, someone's asking if you guys could expand a bit more on the notion of abandonment rates of online gaming apps. And I think this hits on something that you talked about earlier about the new player registration process. So how do you address abandonment rate for online gaming apps or betting apps?
Simone, do you want me to take that?
Sure.
Okay, let me take a step back. So we mentioned the topic of abandonment because, like you, we know that this is a critical point in every gaming sign-up process. And so the way I would structure my answer is, first, start by knowing your customer. Like, who are you targeting with this game? What are some of the specific attitudes and behaviors to that group that is going to be engaging with your game? So that would be step one. Step two is focus on the player effort that's being exerted, not just within this stage, but most importantly in this stage, because it's the kickoff stage, right? Customer effort is something that we actually layer into a lot of the journey work that we do to try to make sure that it's always minimized and as smooth as possible for customers. And it ties in the whole concept of effort very nicely to building emotional connections. So if the experience is difficult, if we're asking for too much information, then ultimately we're not going to build that sense of empathy or excite people to really keep going down the process. So as Simone mentioned earlier, in the sign-up process, we need to be transparent. We need to give that sense of certainty, and we don't want to waste people's time unnecessarily, right? So it's about minimizing that effort, choosing the right language for the audience that you have, and making it overall exciting. And so how we do that from a research standpoint, how we work with organizations to help answer abandonment rate, for example, it can be a combination of different tools and solutions that we have. So for example, journey mapping is one of them. Quantitative validation is also super important, in addition to the qual. UX is something that we also undertake, which can be a bit more tactical, something that we recommend after you've designed your experience on a more strategic lens. But also look at the competitive landscape. There's a lot to be learned from the world around us, and there's so many different games out there. There's a new one almost popping up every day. I for sure know that from my husband, who's always playing new things. Look at what these guys are doing and try to learn from those experiences and sort of tailor it and bring it back to your organization. I hope that answers the question. And Scott, Simone, feel free to add if you want to.
I think that was pretty detailed. Thank you very much, Mariam, and thank you, Simone, as well. I'm just noticing that we are at full time now, so I think
okay.
we'll wrap things up there. I want to thank you both again for joining us, and thank you all for joining the webinar. We've had a great turnout today. We've left our contact details on the screen. Hopefully, if some of you have further follow-up questions, we would love to hear from you. All right, and thanks. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.